Fairy tales read in English with Russian accent. Today we read the book called The Tooth Fairy. It was written by Douglas Dwayne Houston. There once was a tiny princess fair, a darling little fairy with golden hair. She was the pride and joy of the fairy king, and she loved to laugh and play and sing. This almost perfect little princess was so wonderful and sweet, but the only problem was she had no teeth and couldn't eat. This didn't bother her at all, as anyone could tell, for she lived very happily on fragrant flower smell. Well, this would have been just fine, or so we would like to think. No one seemed to worry much until she started to shrink. Now hardly anyone knows that fairies eat flowers. That's the secret that gives them their magical powers. Now poor little Princess Emerald, there was nothing she could do. The more she didn't eat, the teeny tinier she grew. All the fairies, they gathered together. They had to help this little one, but hard as they tried, they just couldn't decide what it was that must be done. The great fairy king knew he had to do something, so he started to make a plan. It was his last resort, but he finally decided to go to the forbidden land of man. He had to go quickly, and he swore an oath to give his all, if only someone there could help him before his daughter got too small. He traveled night and day till he came into a village where he met a farmer tending crops, and he stopped to make his pledge. The king told the man his story, and the man said, "What a simple thing! Tomorrow to the village, all the children I will bring." Now, if this man could really help, the king would offer all the treasure. "All you need to do is ask," he said. "Please tell me, what's your pleasure?" The farmer told the king that day he had no use for wealth and greed. "All I want from you is a promise. Your truth and honor is all I need." He was a humble man with simple pleasures, so he made this bargain with the fairy king. A tiny bit of silver for every child would be all that the king would need to bring. The man gathered all the children of the village together that very next day. He told them all of wonderful game he had for them to play. He said, "If you put your lost tooth beneath the pillow upon which you lay your head, you will find them gone tomorrow, with fairy treasure there instead." It had been a long tradition for the children to save the teeth they'd lose, but never had they thought they might be something they could use. The king made his rounds that night, while all the children were fast asleep, and he left each child some treasure that was there alone to keep. The king had made a solemn vow that has been kept until this day, For every tooth lost to a child of man, there will always be a fairy there to pay. The king took the teeth home and had them magically implanted. Princess Emerald grew strong and tall. The king's wishes had been granted. Fairies live a very long time, but even they grow old, and Princess Emerald is now their queen, or so the story told. She herself has lots of children, and she loves them very well, although none have had her problem. What about their children? Who can tell? Think about the story some night when you've just lost a tooth and you put it beneath your pillow and you want to see the proof. Come that night, a fairy might just magically appear and wish and whisper, "Thank you for your tooth," and Princess Emerald was here. The end.